Hi, everyone. I'm Denis Bilkovich, the general partner and CEO at Fuel Arts, the platform from New York and Miami, which merges the two worlds together, the world of creative industry, creative tech, and the world of venture capital. Um, we have our co-host in the face of Daria Rzhavtseva, the head of business development and partnerships at Fuel Arts. Hi, Daria.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and welcome again to our regular series of online webinars where we're trying to merge the mentioned worlds together and to get the most of it. So today we have a specific topic and specific guest. When we speak about creative tech, we're trying to expand the boundaries of uh, this world also in geographic sense. So our today's journey will be connected with the African art, African creative tech, and so-called African art miracle. We have a special guest for you today, one of the most known speakers, uh, Oluneye Oluwole, an accomplished international best-selling author, expertise development specialist, keynote speaker, storyteller, spoken word poet, and communication expert. Uh, Olu has a lot of titles, and we'll mention just some of them. She's the founder of Story Chest Group, uh, Canada, a digital and innovative multimedia company. She is a founder, president of One Global, a global platform community for leadership development and personal development mentorship. And she's also a founder and executive director of African Hub International, and focused on entrepreneurs and innovators in Africa. And today, with Olo, we'll be talking about and discussing the African art miracle. We've seen a lot of development in recent years, and several months ago, one of the marketplaces devoted to traditional African art, which is called Anka, received substantial investment. So first of all, hi, Olo. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Olo.
Hi, Dennis. Hi, Daria. Thanks for having me on this special webinar series.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity and honor for us to talk to you as we've been tracking your activity and have been witnessing your speeches at several conferences and online webinars. So yeah, let's
Thank you.
spend a fantastic hour together discussing the African art miracle. And yeah, let me ask you the first question. Many people they attribute the art miracle of African contemporary art um, to the pandemic. They they connect the increased attention from major collectors to local markets with the pandemic. Uh, However, this perspective overlooks significant precedents. For instance, the first major auction of contemporary art in Nigeria was established in 2007, and the establishment of the biennial Art X Lagos uh, happened 9 years ago. This year they have the 10th
Mhm.
edition, and the emergence of the well-known 145 art fair in London will also happened 6 or 7 years ago. So, in your view, what factors have been pivotal in elevating African contemporary art to global recognition?
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Daria. Once again, it's a pleasure being in your company to discuss a very important, topic that is close to my heart: African arts, the creative economy. And straight to answering your question, I would want to kind of digress to say first and foremost that African contemporary art has been in the global prominence for a considerable duration of time. If you look at the works of artists like Ben Enwonwu, he's played a significant role in establishing its presence on the international stage. What I want to just say is, kind of contextualize that to say that the journey of African contemporary art has been, way back the times of Ben and Wowu. And when you look at Ben and Wowu, he's recognized as one of Africa's foremost artists to gain that global recognition because he was able to, he's a painter, he was a painter and a sculptor, and his works, span the pivotal moments in Nigeria's history, including the colonial period, the independence, the post-colonial decades, and his works transcend geographical and cultural boundaries onto the international, stage, having an audience, globally. So we could say that Nwowu, that's Ben Nwowu, was a success on the global stage as far back as his time. He was born, I think, 1917, and then he died in the 80s. So we're seeing African contemporary arts in existence. That's what I want to just talk about now. In order to answer that question, I want to just say that what do people think is African contemporary art, so that we have an understanding of what this is all about. Contemporary African art, a lot of people kind of confine it to geographical boundaries, or diaspora representations, talking about, or it's kind of arts that emanates, or it takes its root from Africa by African artists, or African diaspora artists who are also being showcased. So what I want to be able to define and say straight away is that we can't singularly define African contemporary art based on geographical boundaries or based on diaspora representations, because the expression of African arts is multifaceted. You know, contrary to views like, oh, it's produced in Africa, or it's produced by African diaspora post independence. It encompasses engagement with global art worlds and market. So that being said, I'll quickly go to the answer to your question. What do I consider as pivotal in elevating African contemporary art to the global prominence? One is is the growing recognition of African talent. There's been this increasing recognition of the immense talent. Africa comprises of 54 countries, and 54 countries with different languages, different cultures, tradition, music, fashion. In Nigeria, on its own, we have over 250 ethnic groups with different culture, with over 500 languages. So you can imagine, the beauty of Africa. So there's this growing and increasing recognition of the immense talent and creativity within the African contemporary art scene. You find that artists from the continent, they're gaining more international recognition, exposure, and that, and a demand for their works. I'll just mention just a few. On the African continent, we have the likes of Yinka Shonibare, who is a British Nigerian, Pedro Alatishe, who is a Nigerian, Ben Nwowu, I've mentioned that, Sherry Samba, who is from the Democratic Republic of Congo, who is, a painter, El Anutsi, who is, he's quite old now, he's about 80 years old, he's a visual art and a sculptor. Now, the second factor is the artistic diversity and innovation. With the diversity in Africa comes the artistic diversity. You have the Francophone Africa, you have the Anglophone Africa, and then there is a country, I think Angola, I think they speak Portuguese. So you have these artistic diversity and innovation, such that artists can explore a wide range of themes. Is it colonialism? Is it post-colonialism? Is it national identity? Is it continental identity? Styles and mediums. These diversity and innovation have captured the attention of global audiences. That is, they're seeing the diversity that is coming out of Africa in terms of all these the themes, the styles, the mediums, and then it's showcasing the richness and the complexity and diversity of African culture and experiences. The third factor that I want to talk about is the establishment of art institutions and event. And you rightly mentioned, platforms or events like the ArtX Lagos by a young female entrepreneur, Tokini Peterside. She's an art collector. We have the likes of 154 by Touria El Glaoui. She's French Moroccan. You're having these fairs and these events coming up to give African artists that platform to showcase on an international stage. I was listening to Tokini Peterside. I think this year is their 10th edition. It's the 10th edition of the ArtX Lagos, and it's pooling artists and galleries from all over the world. Now, this platform that is AdX, is giving visibility, is giving exposure to upcoming artists, to already known artists. So they have played a crucial role in connecting African artists with collectors internationally, curators, and audiences. The 154, she started in London. So that's 154 is talking about one continent and 54 countries. So Toria is bringing the beauty of the African richness, the diversity to London in England. They're going to the next stop is Marrakesh this year, and of course, I believe the next would be New York. So number 4 is the rising interest from collectors and interest, because from that exposure comes an interest. So you have collectors, you have investors who are interested in African contemporary arts. So you have major collectors, you have galleries, you have museums. They're now seeking out the works by African artists. They're seeking out the diversity within the continent. So this is actually driving the demand and also the prices for these artworks, in the global market. Then I would say the fifth factor would be the social and the political, context. Because these individual artists, they come from different countries within the continent. They're able to explore, like I mentioned earlier, they're able to explore what's happening, socially, what's happening politically, what's happening, culturally, in their works. So they're able, the expression comes from these social and political, contexts. Like I said, Ben Nwowu, he kind of reflected, colonialism, independence, post-colonialism, philosophies of Pan-Africanism, the African history, culture, traditions, everything and anything about Africa, the festivals, the music, the fashion, globalization. So there are a lot of things that they can express themselves through on the continent, socially and also politically. Now, a very important factor that I want us to, take cognizance of is the digital connectivity, and the digital age right now has facilitated that connectivity. Before, artists would have to, take their works, go to galleries, set it up, invite, collectors, and all of that. Now, with the digital age comes greater connectivity and visibility for African artists. For instance, the social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it, and they become platforms for galleries. So you have the rise of online galleries, which has given artists the opportunity to reach a much wider audience and connect with a much wider collectors and collaborators from different parts of the world. Now, before COVID, if you remember, 2020, I think COVID started late 2019. But with COVID, post-COVID, because we have the good side of COVID and the bad side of COVID. So the good side of COVID was that it provided opportunities for museums to kind of pivot into online digital platforms, galleries to to explore the potential of virtual exhibitions because we were not going anywhere. So all these museums couldn't shut down. They had to go, back to the drawing board, and of course, the digital connectivity provided them that opportunity to give the audiences internationally viewing rooms, and this expanded the reach for African contemporary art. So we're seeing and I want to just a case in point. I was talking to one of the leading art galleries in Nigeria, the Yemisi Museum of Arts. It was founded in 2019, and just after it started, there was a lockdown. So you can imagine the amount of funds, the amount of time, resources, works, hours, weeks, months of putting this museum together in partnership with the Pan African University. So immediately they had to pivot, they had to adapt to digital platform, and so we're seeing the use, or we're seeing digital connectivity and leveraging online platforms by museums and galleries. They were able to use this to transcend geographical boundaries. So it was not just that they were in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria. They couldn't open to physically open to for online guests for physical guests to come in, but they were able to transcend beyond that, reaching audiences beyond their reach. So and I would say the last point would be another factor would be the supportive infrastructure. We're seeing improved infrastructure in supporting the African art scene. On the continent, we're seeing the growth of art galleries, educational institutions, artist residency programs. Like I said, the Yemisi Shillong is an example of one of the institutions that are supporting the artwork. So we're seeing all of these things coming to play as factors that is actually supporting. And of course the Nigerian government, the Federal Ministry of Art, Culture and Creative Economy, I'm just contextualizing that for Nigeria. So back to you, Dennis, and I hope that has been able to answer your question.
Thank you so much, Oli. The way and you structured your reply with 9 points and how you kept that all in mind proves that you are a renowned world-class speaker. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. I think you've mentioned like really, really interesting points, especially like regarding the diversity of African culture. But I want to maybe focus a little bit more on Nigeria right now, because we all know that Nigeria is often credited with playing a pivotal role in the advancement of African contemporary art, hosting Lagos Biennial, Lagos Photo Festival. We also mentioned already Artix Lagos Fair, and initiating the artist residency program, Art House, the space by Art House Contemporary Auction House. So my question is like, what do you believe has positioned Nigeria as a leader in this cultural renaissance within the region?
Thank you, Daria. Like I mentioned earlier in my first, in answering the first question, I mentioned the beauty and the diversity of Africa. So bringing that to the Nigerian context within the region, Nigeria itself on its own, we're conservatively maybe 220 million, in population, but we have over 250 ethnic groups. So the first answer to that question would be our rich artistic heritage. Nigeria boasts of a rich and diverse artistic heritage with a long history of creative expressions spanning various indigenous culture and traditions. With the 250 ethnic groups comes a culture, and that looks like 500 languages. And with 500 languages, 250 ethnic groups, you can imagine the fashion of each of these ethnic groups, the dances, the festivals, the music, not only the music instruments, the cuisine. I can go on and on and on about, you know, what this diversity means and how this diversity all come together to give us that rich heritage. So this rich and diverse artistic heritage serves as the cornerstone for our country's, contemporary art scene. So you have artists that can explore, just the fashion or the textile of different ethnic groups, or an artist that just wants to focus on the food, or artists that want to focus just on the music, or even the music instruments. So this heritage is a combination of the indigenous cultures, indigenous traditions, all connecting, together, providing that, unique aesthetics, unique techniques, narratives for Nigeria's artistic tapestry. I want to just take you through a time that I documented. This was way back in 2003. I documented the history of my state. My state which is Ogun State. It is one of the 36 states within, Nigeria. And documenting just that state took me 3 years to document the rich artistic heritage of my people, the culture, the tradition, the music, the dances, the fashion, iconic places. And this is, the template that provides, artists with to explore. Additionally, you have a heritage that extends into, paintings, into pottery, into performing arts. So you're seeing, vibrant colors, patterns, in our textile, in, adire is there, ashoke is there, the akwete, so you have this richness of, Nigeria's heritage. So I don't want to, I want to just take you through. That's number one. Number two, we're having this vibrant cultural scene. Now, from these artistic expressions, you're seeing cultural scenes and thriving art communities that are springing up. You're having museums, you're having art galleries, you're having art institutions in cities like Lagos, Abuja, Calabar. They're now serving as hubs of artistic activities, and they're fostering the creativity, they're fostering innovation within this contemporary, art scene. So you're having, museums. Way back then, it used to just be, like National Museum at Onikan, but now you're having contemporary art museums like Nike Art Gallery, by Nike Okunbaye, which is in Lekki, Lagos. You're having Relay Gallery, you're having Omenka. There's so many, Terra Culture, the Art Tech District in Abuja, the National Gallery of Art in Abuja. So you're having all of these cultural scenes emerging, from the diversity. Now the hubs are springing up to kind of provide that platform and, engagement, for conversations, for enjoying the works of art. Number three would be the investment in arts infrastructure. Now, the investment, it's in two layers. You're having private institutions and individuals who have that genuine interest in investing in arts infrastructure. You're having the likes of Yemisi Shilon, who has a private collection of over 7,000 works that he donated to the Shilon Museum of Art at the Pan-African University. This is a private initiative, and this is in collaboration with a private university, the Pan-African University. These initiatives, they provide platforms for artists to showcase their work, to engage with audiences, and collaborate with their peers. And of course, you have mentioned the Art the AdX Lagos. You have the Art Foundation by Kivita Chelaram. So I'm going to come to that later. Now, number 4 is the global connectivity, because Nigeria is not operating in a silo. COVID happened to everybody, so it happened to in the global south, it happened in the global north, and Nigeria is not an exception. So we have Nigeria's position as a cultural and an economic hub, being facilitated or being expanded through connectivity and exposure to global investors, to global collectors. So you have with connectivity, Lagos Photo Festival at X Lagos, Shillong Museum. They're able to attract attention. They're able to provide a platform for residencies, for collectors, for curators, art enthusiasts from all around the world. So that's number 4. Number 5 would be the support for emerging talent. Platforms or initiatives like the AdX, the Ad House, the Space, and of course Shillong Museum of Arts. They provide art residency programs that support emerging talents. I want to talk about one of them. One of these initiatives that is supporting Ben Nwowu's son, who's also an emerging talent. So I'm going to come to that. So with all of these, initiatives, they're offering artists or emerging talents the opportunities to develop their skills while in residency, to expand their networks and gain visibility, first locally and internationally. And then I would say the 6th one being the entrepreneurial spirit of the Nigerian. Let me just put that. Nigeria's entrepreneurial spirit extends to every facet. It extends to the art scene. We're very entrepreneurial. We're always thinking outside the box. If something happens, we always say, okay, what's the next thing to do? What's this? Why is this not working? So that entrepreneurial spirit of Nigerians, extends to the art scene. You see artists, you see curators, cultural entrepreneurs, creating that platform of expression and opportunities for artistic expression and exchange. So we see the spirit of innovation. Okay, we see the spirit of resourcefulness, that we just have to be resourceful. We know how to take a naira and use it to make different things. So we see that playing a major role in the question that you have asked. So that contributes to Nigeria's leadership in the cultural renaissance within the region. So I hope that answers your questions.
That's
Daria.
amazing. That's amazing. And it's really, really inspiring. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
proved it.
we have a confirmation, online confirmation from
Yeah.
our online viewers. Thank you, Janice, for supporting us. Thank you, Oli. That was very comprehensive reply, and we promise to ask you, starting from now on, very exact questions, because these two were the most important, the most wide, and they really required a very comprehensive reply. So we are very grateful that you have just presented the whole palette of African creativity and entrepreneurship nature. There is one specific question I wanted to ask, because you've mentioned at least 3 different art venues, and their founders were women. So, for instance, Art House Contemporary, the Nigeria's leading auction house, was founded by a woman art collector, Kavita Chelaram. You've also mentioned her. So how do you perceive the impact of female leadership on the Nigerian creative economy?
Yeah. So thank you very much. I also mentioned Nike Okunbaye, who is also, a female leader in the on the Nigerian creative economy. We're seeing an increasing, recognition of women, their impact, their contribution to the growth and development of the sector. Like you mentioned, Kavita is there, Tokini, Peterside. We have Nike Okunbaye. Nike Okunbaye is way older than Tokini or Kavita, but they Tokini and Kavita, they're coming on the wings of women like Nike Okunbaye of Nike at Gallery. So we're seeing that emergence of females. Let me start with Tokini because you mentioned Kavita, and I'm going to come back to Kavita. She's the founder of AdX Lagos. It's the premier international art fair. And under her leadership, she's become, she's made that a key platform and a catalyst for showcasing contemporary, African art, and it's gaining, recognition. So I salute her vision. I salute her dedication to position Nigeria as an international hub for artistic innovation and creativity. I always say that women bring a lot to the table. We're able to, within the art world, within the art ecosystem, within the art space, we're able to showcase our diversity, our nature, our creativity as women, our entrepreneurial spirit, multitasking spirit, our can-do spirit. So we're seeing an emergence of women taking on these roles and having to provide the platforms and provide the opportunities and define the status quo by saying probably it's a male dominated world or something of that. So we're seeing women artists like from Tokini. We look at Nike Okunbaye, like I mentioned. Nike Art Gallery. Her gallery is on 5 floors. I've been there, a couple of times, and she embraces women. Her vision is actually using art to empower women, to give them visibility, to bring them exposure. Women who are underserved, who are marginalized, who underrepresented. So she helps them to tap into their creativity, their uniqueness, and brings them into the art world. And also, not only that, showcases them locally and internationally. Now, Kavita, she also has played a pivotal role in elevating Nigeria's art market. She has provided platform for artists and collectors, and she's a major force, in developing the modern and contemporary art market in Nigeria. She's had exhibitions, auctions, projects, over the years that have contributed significantly to the recognition of numerous modern, artwork. So we're seeing that, women as owners, founders of galleries, curators of events, investors. We're also seeing women featuring as in the driver's seat, in the policy making. And I want to just bring to your attention, we have right now in Nigeria, we have a female minister of art, culture, and creative economy in the person of Hanatu Musa Musawa. She's a spoken word poet and she's an author. So you have the right creative holding that office, understanding the challenges, understanding the need for creating opportunities and platforms. So we're seeing female leadership, at the government level. We're seeing it at the at the private level, and with female leadership at the government level, through strategic planning, advocacy. They're working. She would be working to create that enabling environment, being a creative, being a spoken word poet, being an author. She would be creating that environment, enabling environment for artists, for entrepreneurs, and cultural pioneers. Now, I just want to talk about myself modestly, okay? I have been at the forefront of being that catalyst to bring to recognition, visibility, exposure through my writing as an author, as a spoken word poet, making my own contribution across various facets of the creative sector. I've written books across different genres. I've done anthology of poems. I'm looking at having my poems as NFTs, going, having exploring that connectivity, the interconnectivity or interconnectedness of art and technology. So, to express myself in my writing, my works, my poems, and also in spoken word performance. So we're seeing that rise of women taking their place, either as curators, either as artists, either as poets, either as policymakers or investors or even collectors. I remember mentioning that she started collecting. I can't remember what year, but she was quite young when she started collecting. And if I want to look at my modest art collection, I'd say that I kind of started. So I'm building, my that side of me, collecting art. I'm not there yet. So with that, I think women are faring very well on the continent, and they're wearing several hats within the ecosystem. Back to you, Daria.
Thank you so much. Oh yeah, we have really, really great comments.
Thank you, Janice, again. Thank you, Sarah. And we are moving forward and coming closer to creative tech.
Yeah. So we all know also that the intersection of art and technology is like increasingly noticeable with the platforms like ArtSplit, popular online auction and marketplace for art and music among international collectors. And there is a growing trend of online marketplaces that unite high arts, decorative arts, fashion into one platforms. And I'm curious, like, do you consider this blend of creative tech as a future direction the market is actually seeking?
Yeah, this is the future. If you remember, I said, COVID kind of opened up, the art world to a global audience. So let me take it from Nigeria, and let's see how art and technology have, they both come together, and how that is being, that is increasing engagement, it is increasing expression. And I would first talk about ArtSplit. ArtSplit is an art tech platform. It enables you to own and earn fractions of valuable African artworks and music. And the goal is to raise the global profile of African artists and art. And I mentioned, an emerging talent, Oliver Nwowu. He's on that platform. His specialty is portraiture, and I see that influence, the influence of his father, Ben Nwowu, and Ben Nwowu's father, who was a traditional, what you call a local sculptor. So he's taking, what he's standing on the shoulders of his forefathers, his grandfather, his father, and then he's now focusing on portraiture, and this is talking about a young man that, he was born in the I think 1975. So he's taking all of that and using technology through ArtSplit. Now you also have platforms like at Tech District in Abuja. I was in Abuja and I saw, experience. It's an experiential, moment for me, going through the Art Tech District. They use cutting edge technology, VR, name it. They've gone, over and beyond to bridge the gap between Nigeria's extensive history, that dates back, colonial, pre-colonial, and even post-independence, to a new generation of people who might have no business knowing or understanding or reading about Nigeria's history. Talking about the Gen Zs, the Gen X, the Gen Zs, they're more of tech lovers. So this is where the art and tech comes together to still provide that platform of expression, platform of enjoyment and collaboration, engagement, to learn creatively and also innovatively. So we're seeing this shift in the market's direction. Online marketplaces. We're talking about NFTs. We're talking about integrating high art, decorative arts, fashion, all on one platform for a huge global audience. So the convergence of art, how is it shaping? Number one, in accessibility and global reach. Now, these online marketplaces, they have broken down the geographical barriers. They have given opportunities to collectors from all over the world to discover, to acquire artwork, music, fashion with ease, with a click of a button, with a click of the mouse, with a click of your fingers. This has we're seeing a democratization of access, which has expanded the market's reach. It has opened up opportunities for artists to showcase their work. So even if I want to have a virtual exhibition, I don't need to have, everybody come from all over the world. I could just, collaborate with Art Tech District or collaborate with Art Split or whatever gallery and have my exhibition. Or if I want to have my works online as an NFT. All I need to do is just connect with the NFTs like OpenSeas, and voila, I have been open to a broader audience. Now, the second thing is the diversification of offerings. Now, this the amalgamation of the high art, decorative art, fashion, they cater to a range of tastes and preferences. So you have a diversified offering. So if you're into just music, is Afrobeat or is R&B or traditional, whatever, you have that diversification of offerings. So you're not limited to a specific or a geographic location physically. So collectors can explore a wide range. When I say wide, a huge range of artistic expressions and styles, from traditional painting to contemporary fashion, all in one place. Now, the third thing is we're seeing innovation in buying and selling. And that is where, I'm very excited, because as creatives, we spend loads of time, creating this content, creating this artworks, creating all these beautiful artistic expressions. And we kind of know next to nothing about, monetizing our work, because we're more concerned with the creative, with the creative work. But with that comes the downside of not being able to, monetize your work. But with the interconnectedness of art and technology, we're seeing innovation in buying and in selling. So we have more ownership. We own the work. We can dictate the terms. So these creative tech platforms, they're leveraging innovative technologies such as blockchain, NFTs, and I am so passionate about NFTs. And until I have my NFT, out there, I'm not going to stop talking about NFTs. That's, by the way, Dennis and Daria. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So these platforms, they have emerged as groundbreaking forms of intersection between art and technology. It wasn't possible before. So we're seeing I can turn my works, my books, all my books, even the book cover, even my soon to be released spoken word anthology and album, all of that can be converted into digital artifacts where I can start selling, and people buying, and then using art and technology, tokenize it, authenticate it, trade it securely on the blockchain network. So we're seeing that interconnectedness, and how it is helping the artworks, artists, and also the collectors, the buyers, and even the global audience. And I hope that that answers your question.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Olu. We also are traditionally showing the questions from the audience, and we have several
Okay.
today. Thank you, Sarah, for your attention, for your question as well. So, how's technological advances and tools shared in the artistic community in Nigeria? How do artists get to know the tech is available? If you could please give a short reply.
How can you say that question again?
Yeah, how do artists get to know the
Mm-hmm.
tech is available? How
Okay.
is technological advances and tools shared
Mm.
in the artistic community in Nigeria?
Okay, so I think the first one of the things that I always, when I'm mentoring, because I mentor, creative students, undergrads, and one thing that I always talk about is you have to read, you have to look for information, you have to read everything and anything. You just have to understand that the first thing is, I'm looking for information. That is number one, and it's all over on the internet, wherever. Secondly, we're having the emergence of incubators and accelerators that are just coming up, that are focused on the creative economy, on the creative industry, and we're not. What we're seeing within the Nigerian ecosystem is more of attention in the fintech, and that is where my passion is. That I have discussed at several places and several times with several stakeholders, to have an incubator and an accelerator that focuses on the creative industry and the creative economy, because we're seeing a ballooning of creativity coming out of Nigeria, coming out of Africa. And the first thing is, yes, you're a creative, but what do you understand about the business of being a creative? How do you monetize? How do you the tools that you need? What are those platforms that are available? So I would say that these are some of the conversations that I'm having with different stakeholders in of course, establishing either an incubator or pre-accelerator and an accelerator, for Nigeria, not only for Nigeria, within the African continent, that specifically focuses on that sector. And of course, we're seeing conversations with the government, at some point, to see the need for that. So where do you get this information? I believe, just being online, reaching out to people that are stakeholders in this industry. I wouldn't say people like me. I wouldn't say I'm a subject matter expert, or creatives, and begin to ask those questions. And I believe, as you're asking the questions, you're making your research, you're getting somewhere. And I do believe that in a short while, we're going to see the emergence, or the establishment of what I mentioned, an incubator that helps creatives not only talk about their creative art side, but also the business aspect of their creativity, and also the resources and the tools that they would need to be, creative entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe that, yes, Sarah says that she is more than satisfied with your reply. We have a small question from Eric, and I'd like, yeah, to give a short reply and also to let Olu to rest for a minute.
Okay.
Yes, I believe that that would help you to concentrate even more on the two questions that have left till we finish our webinar. So yeah, thank you, Eric, for your question. And first of all, I'd like you to connect with Daria and with Olu after the webinar. We have what to discuss in person. We'll be happy to jump on an intro call because we're uh, always eager to know more about different companies from the venture industry as well as from the startup industry.
Yeah.
To reply to your question, in short, I mean, as we know, there are two biggest challenges the startups are
Mm,
faced with. The
mm,
first are crisis. The second one is called success or fame.
mm,
So in recent year, we were witnessing the combination of the two challenges. So first of all, the crisis, and of course, it will foster the innovation. It will foster the leadership because in the end of the day, investors are investing in the winners, in those who have survived the crisis, and during the crisis, they are just witnessing. The reaction of the leaders, of the founders of the team. So the strongest will be granted with investment when the crisis uh, finishes. Regarding the fame, regarding the success, we are also experiencing now the hot market of AI, and a lot of startups and investors are, of course, keeping an eye on that. A lot of
yeah.
startups are trying to implement, to utilize AI, not because they really need it, but because they want to impress their investors. That's what I call success or fame. So the second big challenge is just to stand aside of any hot market.
Mm,
Um, if only you don't really have an essential need to implement, to utilize that kind of technology. So, and the good news is that yeah, only like 18% of the startups are exploring AI at the moment, but 75% of the same startups are using AI tools in their daily work
mm,
with their startups. So that
mm,
shows that there is no like happy panic, that there is no
mm,
craziness the AI market, and that gives some kind of relief and optimism. So yeah, again, we'll be happy if you contact with Daria and Olo, and Daria will also contact you, Eric. We have much to discuss in common.
yeah.
So we have two questions left, and we'll be happy, yes, mm, if you give short replies on those. No, no, no. The main word is not short. The main word is reply. I mean, if you could still devote some time to our guests and to your host. So numerous startups are that are fostering the African creative economy are founded by the immigrants or expatriates residing in Europe or in the US. So, in your experience, where is the most opportune? Which market is more opportunistic for the founder who wants to tap into African creative tech to secure funding, to find the community
Mm,
support? Uh, so which market is better, the European market for an immigrant or the domestic market for those who want to stay or to return back to African countries and to incorporate there. By the way, our split mentioned by us is incorporated in Lagos, so which is really great.
Yeah.
And for instance, ANCA mentioned by us is incorporated in the US. So, oh, sorry, in France. So there is some kind of difference. So, in your opinion, where is the most of the opportunity? And that will lead us to the last question about the
To where?
opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to clarify the aspect of the expatriates, that are residing in Europe, and I would want to say that the expatriates comprises of experts from expatriates from African diaspora communities who often have strong networks, connections, and resources that can be leveraged to support startups. And also, we have non-African expatriates who also have strong networks and connections with the African diaspora communities. So I kind of made that, distinction between, the kind of experts that are outside of Africa, in Europe, and also in America. So where are those places? The first being investment networks and venture capital firms. We have, for founders who want to seek investment, they should look for founders who have a focus on Africa, particular, or the creative economy. I would say, platforms like Launch Africa Ventures, that is the founders, Zachariah George and Jeanette Duplessis. They're the leading Pan-African VC fund, in Africa. A second, and in that context, I'd just like to also mention, a friend of mine who's also part of that investment platform, Stevens Fred Mita. He's a big voice on the African continent when it comes to investing in people in Africa and also in Africa itself. Now we're having several other, investment funds. We have the Africa Tech Ventures. We have Village Capital. Those are some of the places that you can investment platforms. We have also they can also look at government grants, programs and supports. And by government grants, it's kind of very wide. You have the US aid, you have the EU. The EU has grants and loans that are focused on Africa. You also have the African Development Bank, AFDB. They also provide funding support for entrepreneurs, in Africa through their initiative, the Africa Development Fund. You have the UNDP, focus on Africa. You have the GIZ, German Development Corporation, that provides funding, technical assistance. So if your organization or your company is focused on tech, the GIZ is there. You have the UK DFID is also there, the French Development Agency, the Japan International Corporation, JICA. These are institutions globally. The World Bank is there, the Commonwealth. Now, talking about getting those kind of grants in Nigeria. I just want to contextualize, the Nigerian ecosystem and the Nigerian scene. You have the Bank of Industry who grant loans in single digits to the creative industry, within Nigeria. You also have the government support in the place of Ministry of Arts and Culture and Creative Economy. Giving the support in terms of policies, legislative, regulatory, intellectual property reforms, the cultural plan, and all of that. And yes, you also have the support of the government, reiterating the government support to empower, the Nigeria's best talents and all of that. And there's also, this current administration has, Office of the Presidency. There's a special assistant attached to the president on arts and culture, creative economy. A young, very innovative, dynamic man, Ayo Adiago. They're also looking at working in collaboration with governments, MDAs, private sector, creative entrepreneurs in Nigeria and in the diaspora. Now, this third or fourth is corporate partnerships and sponsorships. Now, this is where this is also huge, where you can collaborate with corporate partners and brands, to brands. I don't want to mention, because I'm not promoting any brand, but partnerships with brands, with media companies, with cultural institutions are some of the ways where founders can tap into. And last but not the least is the African diaspora communities, in Europe or in America, that have they have strong networks. Like I mentioned, they have connections, they have resources, they have all kinds of opportunities that African creatives can leverage their network on. So these are some of the ways where they can access. And I think the last would be startup hubs and incubators who have funds, for the creative industry in Europe. There are loads and loads of them in Europe. So I'm not going to bore you with, the number. You have Station F, you have Tech Hub, you have Rocket Space, you have Factory Berlin, you have the Family, and in Nigeria or Africa, you have CC Hub, you have iHub, you have MES Africa, you have 88 MPH, you have A-Band, which is the Africa Business Angel Network. You have Bongo Hive, then Lusaka, Zambia, and you have the Founders Factory Africa, then Joburg, South Africa. So there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of avenues. It just depends on where you're looking at, the individual circumstances, your network, your strategic objectives, how these fall into the objectives of these institutions or organizations that I have mentioned. Yeah, back to you, Dennis.
Thank you. Thank you, Olu. My colleagues have corrected me. Yeah, of course, the AMCA marketplace is incorporated in Cote d'Ivoire, not in France, but what has misled me, of course, 9 of 16 AMCA's investors are French, both companies or private individuals. So, yes. So Cote d'Ivoire has strong relation to the French venture capital community, and vice versa. We have the last question by Daria.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was like really amazing to hear about all of these opportunities. I think it's so great that people are looking at us today and hear all that you said. And I think we traditionally will finish with some kind of predictions and future. So,
Okay.
given your personal experience living in Canada and your efforts to support the African creative economy, how do you see the ideal progression of it? And like, what is your vision on this question? And also, maybe we can specify a bit who, in your opinion, should spearhead the development and why.
Okay, thank you very much. This is where I get personal and talk about what I have done. I see myself first and foremost as a catalyst, also as a bridge and an ecosystem builder for the African creative economy. But before I proceed to answer how I envision that ideal progression, first let me contextualize my experiences. First, as an African woman, as a creative and an entrepreneur I have lived on the African continent, and as an African immigrant in Canada, in Mississauga, which is one of Canada's multicultural cities. So first and foremost, as an African woman, my experience on the continent spans over 25 years, building businesses in travel, in enterprise development, creative industry. It also encompasses my leadership appointments to serve my country, my state, my local government. It also talks about my writing books and all of that, and mentoring. So I would say that in all of this, um, for instance, in the writing of my book, I was perceived as an irrelevant. It was perceived that that venture was perceived as an irrelevant venture, wasteful, unnecessary. There were voices outside and voices within. But I became resolute. I'm going to answer your question in a minute. I became resolute in my passion, in my determination, in my dream and mission against all odds. And this project was concluded. Now, this was not without the challenges, the challenges of funding, but it built my resilience, it built my tenacity, it built my determination. Now, second of all, my experiences in leadership, I was part of an 11 member executive council at my local government, and I was the only female. So I was battling a lot of patriarchal systems, societal and cultural barriers. So when I bring all of this together, I embody resilience, I embody creativity, and a deep-seated passion for fostering growth, not only for myself, but for my community and beyond. So now it takes me to Canada, and my lived experience as an African woman provided me with a deep understanding of the challenges and the opportunities that are faced by newcomers. We call it, immigrants, newcomers, navigating that intersection of their culture, of their identity, of entrepreneurship as immigrants. So it has given me that understanding. And the question, why me? Why should I be the one to lead the charge? And the answer is this: I know firsthand the struggles of carving out a place in a new land, while staying connected to your roots. It is similar to my struggles through the years of carving a new venture, writing a new book, navigating the political terrain and landmines of patriarchy, cultural, social, societal barriers, while staying connected to my dreams, to my aspirations, and to my visions. Now, despite these obstacles that I faced along the way, like I said, I refused to be deterred. I drew strength from my heritage, from my community, from my belief in the power of creativity to transform lives and communities. So, because I know too well, when you're underrepresented as a woman, where you're underrepresented as a creative, when you're marginalized as a woman, where you're unheard, when you're underserved, and when you're unrecognized. So all of these I carry and I understand, and it gives me that spirit of resilience and determination that is essential for driving meaningful change. So, because when you're driving meaningful change, you're going to encounter obstacles, you're going to encounter challenges. There will be voices in your head, there will be voices outside your head, there will be all manner of shenanigans going on around you just to stop you from achieving that meaningful change. Now, this empathy and insight uh, positions me to champion a cause for the African creatives, ensuring that their voices are heard, their talents are recognized, from my experience. So I am in total driven by my experiences, my heritage, my unwavering determination, which has become the driving force behind that vision of transforming the African creative economy. So, in closing, I would say that yes, I am a catalyst. Yes, I'm a bridge builder, leading the charge. Where you ask the question, who's going to lead that charge? I'm not going to lead it to any other person, but I want to leave a legacy where my children and their children's children and other people see what I've been able, to do while doing my time here on Earth. So, leading this charge towards a landscape where African art, the culture, the innovation flourish on a global stage. So, in this vision of progression, like you said, I see myself as the key protagonist in the narrative of Africa's creative renaissance. So, through my leadership, through my advocacy, my stakeholder engagement, on unwavering commitment to the cause, I want to pave the way for the future where African creativity knows no bounds, where barriers are broken, and where dreams are, realized. So, at the helm of this, all of this movement, it's a movement. I also see myself as a beacon of hope, inspiration, utilizing my unique perspectives, my unique insights to spearhead initiatives that will empower and uplift African creatives. And finally, my connection with Frill Arts, I want to say, is one of such engagement. And I want to thank you, Dennis and Daria, for having that passion, having that unwavering support for the African continent, for creativity, for technology, having to have those conversations and to explore the opportunities. My connection with Phil at is one of such of my engagement and part of the global support and engagement that I seek in my quest to empower African creatives to build a world where the African creative economy thrives and flourishes, enriching lives and inspiring generations, to come. So I see the beauty of Africa. I see the richness of Africa, the art, the music, the fashion, the literature, and I understand the economic and cultural value that they hold both locally and globally. So, and when we harness this potential, I envision a future where African creatives are not just surviving. They're not just surviving, but they are thriving, where their contributions are celebrated and their impact are felt far and wide. So this vision is not just to transform industries, but also to transform communities, leaving a legacy of empowerment and possibility of future generations to inherit. So thank you, Phil Arts, for that opportunity to be able to have such wonderful conversations, and of course our plans for the future. Back to you, Daria.
Thank you so much. It's amazing. Thank you for like letting us ask all of these questions to you.
Yeah, thank you, Olu. I just wanted to ask, so will you take Fuel Arts on board if one day you'll start, you'll become the president of creative tech of Africa? But I believe we've just received the answer. Thank you for your trust, and really think that's a great time, and that's a great opportunity to unite the forces and to do something substantial for the African continent in terms of creative tech. We have some ideas in stock, and we really believe that with your trust and support, with your network, and with your, first of all, experience, charm, and entrepreneurship skills, we have the chance to create a very sufficient input into the development of the world creative tech, on the example of the African continent. So thank you, Olu. Thank you, everyone who have been listening to us. And
thank you.
Yeah, there are still some questions we'd like to ask you, but we'll preserve them for your written interview in our upcoming report, Fuel Arts 2004 report, which will be released in the beginning of April during NFT New York, as part of NFT New York. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, and
see you everyone
soon.
See you soon.
Thank you for having me. Take care now. Bye bye. Bye.